You're listening to Edge Radio TV. The views and opinions expressed in this program are that of the host or guests, and not the Edge Radio Network or its advertisers or affiliates.
E.R.A.S.E is an organization. It's a movement. We're talking about unity. We're talking about unity. So we're aimed to taking down the system of race by educating, enlightening, informing, and positively debating with those who have counterviews.
Welcome back. This is Richard and Carlin.
Hey, we're here.
Talk about unity. We had a break last week. We know you guys watched a repeat show, but I just want to tell you this. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do. You got to go out of town. You got to take care of things. You got to recover from stuff. And we had to recover from snowpocalypse out in the country. Fix a bunch of stuff and get on down the road. My father-in-law had his report. He had stage 4 aggressive cancer, 32 days of all kinds of chemo, and we had to be there when he got his report, and his report came back, and he came back with a 0.04%, almost undetectable, completely controlled cancer. So he's good.
And you say he had 32 days of chemo?
32. Well, there was off on Saturday and Sunday. Mostly off on Sunday.
But pretty much a month of chemo straight up.
A solid month. But boom, he's all recovered. It's all good. Life is good. Got everything lined out. So
what does his body do? You know, because having my wife's undergoing chemo right now. How did his body react? I mean, is he the same size? Did he lose weight?
Lost weight, lost muscle, but most importantly, he was really, really tired. Like tried to drive home. That's why we had to go there for so many times. Is falling asleep driving down the road. So no, we're not doing that. So it was so good to get that report that he is all good. So glad to be back. Glad snowpocalypse is over. Most everybody is recovered. Got the pipes going. Got everything going. The trees are actually starting to bud out. I thought everything was dead, but no, I see a little green popping out.
Means allergies are back.
Allergies are back. Man, we have an exciting show today.
Man, we got so much to cover today. We all of the topics that we got to cover today, we're not going to cover formally because we don't even have in here that little E.R.A.S.E stuff that we were just talking about before we started here. And so, can you give a quick synopsis of what that's about? Because I don't know. I didn't get a chance to look it up.
I mean, it's on every news channel, every radio channel, every bit of social media. This cat named Little E.R.A.S., who
everybody
wrote
else,
that song,
the people watching
Road,
that show probably know him. We just we're behind. Everybody else probably going. We know Little E.R.A.S.
He's not in the area of what I watch or listen to or pay attention to, but the whole thing is. He kind of hijacked these Nike shoes. It was unauthorized collaboration. So they didn't really collaborate. He just I'm going to take your shoes and then I'm going to turn it into these.
It had the swoosh on it?
Took the swoosh off and put a pentagram on it. Made devil shoes out of it.
So why is Nike then related then? If it's not Nike shoes,
it is a Nike shoe. It's a Nike shoe. Oh, there is a swoosh on it. There's a swoosh on it.
Okay,
yeah.
so they got.
So he jacks these shoes and I don't know. I really what it is he's just trying to be in the limelight. He's trying to be talked about.
That's what our super producer said. Vince said that's what's up.
Man, this morning driving in, I saw it. A Nike sues Little E.R.A.S. You knew it had to be coming without him signing off on it. Then all of a sudden, here it is. But they were a little bit late to the game. Nike was a little bit late to the game. People vote with their dollars. And listen, I am not going to let my kids or wife or myself wear some Satan shoes. This is supposed to have a drop of human blood in it. How did they get by with that? How did they get by with that? You can't have human blood and stuff.
So now this background on Lil Nas. So is he admittedly and publicly spoken about being a Satan worshiper? Is that what he says he is?
I don't know where he's
Or was
coming
this just
from.
his thing to, remember, you and I are old enough to know, and the youngsters don't know this.
Yeah,
Super
yeah.
Dudes Vince, he right on this. But remember Madonna? Madonna did that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Madonna did some like satanic type stuff. She did a play. She had this video where people were like, and it just skyrocketed her to more to fame. And so I'm saying, is that what's up? Lil Nas is saying, I'm trying to live on the edge and trying to market stuff to make money.
I don't know. Lil Nas, people vote with their dollars, and there's a whole lot of people. We're living in a cancel culture, and so now a lot of people are burning their Nike shoes and all this other stuff. The video that goes along with this whole Nike thing, having sexual relations with Satan, and man, I'm just telling you what. It's not going to turn out for Little Nas like he thinks. I'm a preacher, man, so I read my Bible. Mm-hmm. Listen, playing with Satan is not fun. I don't care who you are.
Yeah, but in the world, though, he could be this could get him what he wants. Because how people, when they say they sell their soul to the devil, the devil says, hey, you make this deal, I'll make you a millionaire. I'll make you a billionaire. And so he could, in the world's way, be very profitable because the world might accept all that. The world might say, "Cool."
Well, hell is hot and the devil is mean. I'm just saying. You got to be careful with that. You can't.
But that's what we would say because we're believers and we understand that. And so we there are areas we won't go, but the world.
Yeah, well, Lil Nas gonna find out someday. He's gonna find out someday. I'm just telling you, y'all need to pray. Y'all need to pray for Lil Nas in that he'd have a dream in the middle of the night and see what it's really all about. So anyway. That's I'm a little tore up. I'm a little bit tore up about this, and listen.
Where's Lil Nas from? Where's he?
I have no idea.
Anybody
but if he don't change his ways,
let me ask
I know where he's going
over there. Think he from the ATL maybe? All right, guess what?
He's mixed. He's a mixed up young man. That's who that is. Lil Nas is a mixed up young man.
Going on to our very first topic, we're gonna find out there are a lot of mixed up people, and they're not all just like Lil Nas. But anyway. Hey, so we got a lot of good topics today. Now we're going to get to our real topics today. That was just a free one. We just threw that out there because we want to talk about that.
I had to get that.
So let's start off. We got a lot to talk about, but we're going to start with one that's pretty entertaining because you posted a couple of weeks ago, I guess it was, a video, which, how'd you do that? That's pretty cool the way you did that. He posted to his Facebook his video of Grand Theft Auto.
So in my Facebook feed, all of a sudden, there's this advertisement for this video.
Oh, so that was an advertisement.
Oh, it was an advertisement.
And you just shared it?
I shared it, and it was some video clips from the game Grand Theft Auto.
Right.
And so part of the game, I don't know if it's just like free play or whatever. I've never played the game, but when this showed up, all of a sudden I started connecting the dots on some stuff that has been happening in society. And basically what it is you pick your character, and this particular character that we're looking at right now, she is like a middle-aged white lady with a bun on her head, wearing like librarian clothes, and she's just running around punching people in the back of the head, just everywhere, just punching, just people on the phone. She was actually kicking a dog in one of the clips of the video. I'm telling you, it's bad. And you think this doesn't affect your kid? You think this doesn't affect our society? You remember the knockout game that they've had over a few years ago?
Yeah.
Man, that's ridiculous. Those ideas didn't just come out of thin air. No, they get that from somewhere else. I'm just saying, before we get going on with this,
I'm just saying that was the last show.
That was the last show. If they can cancel Mr. Potato Head, and they can cancel Dr. Seuss, why in the world can't we cancel Grand Theft Auto? I know some people love to play that game, but just think about what that does to kids that don't have parents, that don't have any kind of really moral structure in their life. It's like, oh, that looks fun, and everybody's trying to go viral on the video. You go and you hit somebody in the head, and you don't realize who they are. You might just get knocked out yourself. So
so my I surveyed my daughters and my sons about this, and they were saying, it's like no big deal. Of course, they're all below the age of 25, and so, but they were looking at this saying, yeah, I play, and yeah, that's actually. I said, so is this actually real? And I was asking them, and so my daughter was saying this is part of free play, and yeah, you can use it to get to other levels. She went into this deep stuff that I don't know about video games because I'm so old and I'm not in that realm. But she was basically saying, yeah, it's not a big deal. So I asked her the question, and I said, well, I mean, is there anything in this game? Because I'm a dad, and I talked about people having parents, and I'm a dad, and this is my daughter, and I raised her. And I said, but is there anything in there that would make you behave differently than you would otherwise? She said, I don't think so. She said, but I do know that I drive a little more aggressively when I think about some of the driving scenes. And I was like, so you're giving me both.
So,
you know, you're saying yes, but no.
Yeah,
and I think what she's saying is, I don't do the extreme stuff, because she talked about the extreme stuff that happens in the game.
Sure.
She's like, and so, that doesn't have any, she says that doesn't have any effect on her. My view was that the fact that seems normal to her means it had an effect, because I'm like, because me, and this is I think what the difference is. If you're far removed and you live in your world, I live in Carlin's world. And in Carlin's world, I'm busy trying to erase race. I go home every day. I'm working out. My wife's got cancer. And so this is my realm. I watch the evening news and see what's happening. I keep aware of things that are happening in the world and locally here. So that's my world. My world doesn't have the world of video games in it. So I don't know what exists there. And so I think in my world, then to be exposed now to video game like Grand Theft Auto, then it is shocking. It's shocking to me, because that's just not in my world. For people that's in their world, then they include that along with all their other stuff. And some of the other stuff in their world might be the fact that they actually go to church, they go to school, they have jobs, and they have Grand Theft Auto. And so we have to look at, well, how much effect does it really have on them when that's a part of their world? And so, so I guess it's it. For some people, maybe that's their entire world. And Grand Theft Auto is their world, and that's all they do. And so they might be affected more. So I think that's kind of the way we got to look at it. And like I said, because I'm gonna have some more questions for my daughter later on.
Well, just think about how our youth culture has evolved in the last 10 years. Of course, a lot of it has to do with the whole cell phone cameras and social media, and everybody's trying to go viral. But 10 years ago, 15 years ago, you would never think that somebody, and now there's a whole bunch of somebody's jumping on the McDonald's counter, kicking food off in people's faces, going to the convenience store, throwing down the soda racks and the candy rack, and punching people,
old
running
people
around. I mean, the deal, running around punching people in the street? No. Whether I'm related to you or not, I care about everybody. This is a race. It doesn't matter what you look like, how big or small, or how old or young you are. If I see somebody running up and punching somebody in the head, that's not going to happen. I mean, we're going to stop that. I'm not going to hit violence with violence, but I promise you, you're going to stop that. We have to stop that stuff. And, they're talking about gun control now. Everybody wants to take away the guns. Well, we need to look at the contributing factors to violence today. And this whole Grand Theft Auto, run around punching people, and guns all in this game. Come on, Carlin. We really need to look at some of these other underlying factors and just start eliminating that before you take away my guns that I go hunting with and kill predator hogs with and protect my family with. We just got to be responsible and look at the big picture. So
that's a good subject. And that's not on our agenda for today, the gun issue, but that's a good one to talk about as well. Because with all these issues, we can talk about the impact and where it came from, but the thing we never get to is what is a solution? Because even when you talk about Grand Theft Auto, and we're gonna wrap up our talk about Grand Theft Auto and move on with our topics as we come back, but when we think about that, really, what do you think is a possible solution? I mean, because if we identify that is in fact a problem, and it is having some detrimental effects on our society as a whole, then what is a solution? Because are we saying shut it down? Because one of the things that did happen, they had to change those to a rating system. And that was something that wasn't there before, so they did that. What do you do beyond that? I
think it's so important to. What's the opposite of Grand Theft Auto? Why couldn't it be community building game or
nobody's gonna buy that. Who's gonna buy that?
No.
Me and you are gonna buy it. It'll sell 2 games.
How about a game called Entrepreneur, where you find a need and you fill it, right? You go in there, go in the community, and all of a sudden you went from a lemonade stand to now you're selling frozen ice, and now you got your own frozen lemonade that you're selling all the way around the world, and you got your own yacht, and you got your own jet, all because you started at a lemonade stand. Little things start, big things start in little places. I don't know. I don't know what the whole real answer is, but we just got to be careful. We just got to be careful with just not speaking to these things. Cancel culture is real, but if they can cancel Mr. Potato Head, and they can cancel Dr. Seuss, somebody ought to be thinking about canceling Grand Theft Auto, or at least making it a little not quite so violent.
I got the solution. Here it is. You ready for it? This is the solution. Richard and I are going to do it. Everybody in America, listen up. Here's the answer to all of our problems. We got the solution. Richard Jennings and Carlin Charleston create the first ever school for parents.
Oh,
School for parents. Boom. We fix it all. You are not authorized, and this sounds crazy. I'm not even going to say that, because the people would take that and say he's crazy. Because once you have your child, until you complete our course, then you can't have access to your children because you got to go to parenting school. Richard Jennings and Carter Charleston Parenting School. Yeah. We're going to take a break and discard that after I said that. But we do need to do more education about parents. We're going to take a break, carry on with our agenda after we come back on Talk About Unity. Here we go.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition, liftoff.
Don't push me because I'm close to the edge.
I'm trying not to lose my head.
Hey, this is the Talk About Unity show where I bring the talk.
And I bring the unity.
And together we talk about unity. Unity is what matters. Come on. And right now in our country, that's what we've got to do. So we do that here at Talk About Unity on the Edge Radio Network. Be with us every week.
It's going to be awesome. It always is. And I tell you what, the more we seek first to understand, then be understood, we make progress.
And we like to do that. And that's why everybody's on the brink. We love what we do at Edge Radio because everybody's on the edge. We bring them back from the edge and we bring the unity. So we're just glad to Edge Radio Network every Tuesday morning, 10 a.m. Talk about unity because here at Edge Radio Network, truth still matters.
Edge Radio TV is holding auditions for new show hosts. Are you a subject matter expert, professional, influencer, book author, thought leader, or business owner with an educational or motivational platform? Then we want to meet you. Send a link of some of your work to edgeradio20@gmail.com and be sure to put audition in the subject line. Join the Edge Radio TV family. Edge TV, because truth still matters.
And we're back at Talk About Unity, boy, and we had a lot to talk about. We keep talking. The show should run straight through without those commercial breaks, but we need those commercial breaks.
Right.
All right, but because we're covering stuff from start to finish on these issues, and we're gonna segue here. Our clip 2 that you want to put up there for us, Vince, has got the death of George Floyd, the Derek Chauvin trial is what's up. And this kind of we're segueing about because we talked about during the break about the impact that parents have on kids and all the things that they encounter in our society. And when you think about our observance of the videos and what we see, we also see this stuff live, like we saw on the news, because we got cameras everywhere. And so one of the probably the most played videos was the George Floyd death that happened, the 8 minutes and 46 seconds as they talk about. That was probably played more than a lot of video games over the last 10 months. And so we're going to talk about that because that's taking place now, and it's having an impact on our society as well. I haven't watched any of the trial as of yet, but I do know the issues that cities are concerned about, and that is the safety and based on what's going to happen. What do you think is going to be a result, and how long do you think this trial is going to take?
I don't think the trial is going to take that long.
Have you watched any of it yet?
I have. I've watched some of
cool.
it. I've watched, probably almost the entire video. And, I've actually made comments about had the police not intervened, George Floyd probably would have OD'd because of the amount of fentanyl in the system. I don't want that to shadow the fact that really has nothing to do with the outcome of his death and what's really come about, in the sense that the guy was kneeling on his neck. When I first saw this, I saw that what my perception is that nobody was intervening. Do you know there was a lot of people that tried to intervene and said, get off of him.
Yeah.
Even approaching and they almost, who knows, they could have gotten shot, but they didn't, thank God. But one guy was an MMA fighter that knew exactly what was happening.
Did you listen to him testify yesterday? Did you hear him?
Oh,
they said what kind of stuff was he? What was he saying?
Okay, so what he said was something about the way he was kneeling on his neck. He knew that was lethal, cutting off the blood flow to his brain, whether he was on fentanyl or not. I mean, that was a deadly MMA move. You can't do that, and that's the reason why they go in and they stop it when the guy loses consciousness, because that will actually kill somebody. And he was on his neck like that. The bottom line is the civil trial. That
guy, that mixed martial artist, just for E.R.A.S.E, was he light skin tone or dark skin tone?
Dark skin tone.
Oh, he was?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Just curious.
Light dark skin tone. Right.
And so, what did you think about the trial, the part that you saw, and how many people did you see? Did you watch it? I mean, was it a long procedure yesterday? Or
a lot of it was showing the video and, of course, lawyers back and forth, and really he didn't say much.
Is this who's up? Is this the defense or the prosecution?
This was the prosecution was really presenting their case and showing the mostly the video. And the more I saw the more video, the more I became enraged. I mean, the jury's looking at this now, and they're watching the video as well.
Again, because they've all seen it.
Again. And I don't really think it's going to take that long. I can't imagine him not being convicted. But the end result, I believe that there's a lot of training.
Do you know what
I
hate to interrupt you, but is this is it second degree murder, third degree? What's the charge?
I don't know exactly what the charge was.
Okay.
I did not get that depth into, but it's definitely,
because that's another thing that would determine based on what they charged him with, whether or not the likelihood of them getting found guilty or not guilty.
Right.
So.
And regardless of how this turns out, $27 million went to the family. And that case is already settled. I don't care how wealthy or well-to-do the community that you live in, $27 million on impact of a city's budget, that's a lot of money. And there's definitely going to be some training and some structure put in place that's going to really minimize officers.
Yeah, but that $27 million doesn't that impact? Isn't that that's probably paid for by the city's liability insurance policy, right?
Probably.
So,
and
they don't have that kind of money.
And I'm not really talking about poor city, right. Or the family being enriched, over enriched. That's beside the point.
Right.
What needs to happen is this kind of treatment to a citizen has to stop. It has to stop. Right. He was already in handcuffs. And yes, he did say on video several times, I think it was 4 times, please lay me down, please lay me down. He was because he was already feeling the effects of whatever was going on. I don't know if it's just mental state or emotions or the drugs. He asked to be laid down. But when he's laying on the ground, why do you have to stay on him like that? And that's what multiple people were saying. So I just can't imagine there not being a conviction in this case. But the sad tragedy is it happened. Justice, I believe, will be served, but the bottom line is this needs to stop. My question is, and it was something that I always ask, especially related to a race, if that was my daughter or that was my son being treated like that, how would I respond? Take color and culture and race out of it and just say, if that was your son or that was your daughter, how would you respond? I probably would have gotten arrested. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I think that work we talked about as a parent, my daughter or my son better not find themselves in that situation.
No,
it's the stuff that I better do before then.
Right.
Because if they get in that situation, then my knee might have been on their neck before then.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
and we were talking about that because the other day, and this is not a topic we plan on talking about.
No,
and I don't know if you know about it, but this is a perfect chance to talk about
go.
this topic, Kirk Franklin.
Oh, man.
Did you hear about Kirk Franklin?
Yeah.
So Kirk Franklin, Vince, you hear about Kirk Franklin? Kirk Franklin had this deal with his son. His son put out this not a video, but the audio of him having a discussion. He recorded him having a verbal fight with his dad, Kirk Franklin.
Man,
Kirk Franklin said some things that Kirk Franklin apologized for because Kirk Franklin was upset with his son. Yeah. And I went to the one YouTube video where they were interviewing Kirk Franklin and his wife, and I posted, I nominate Kirk Franklin for Dad of the Year.
Oh, you did?
Yes, because Kirk Franklin said some things, but I said, this is what parents do. And Kirk Franklin apologized because he said, I will break my foot off in your blank, blank, blank. And, and so he, as a Christian, then he felt like that was wrong. But I was like, parents can get upset and very angry, but it's what make sure you're doing the right thing. And I say, based on what I heard, Kirk Franklin was doing the right thing. Yeah. His son was disrespecting him. And, Old Testament, we know what happened to kids who disrespected their parents in the Old Testament. They were stoned to death.
That's right.
And God said, stone them to death.
Thank you for Jesus.
Thank you for Jesus, because we're not doing that today. But I tell you what, that break your foot off kind of is a logical thing for me. Yeah. And but this is the kind of thing that I'm talking about. And so when you talk about George Floyd, and this is why we do what we do. We talk about mentoring and reaching these youngsters. Some of these professional athletes who wind up in trouble, they need mentoring. They need people there to say, this is not the way that you behave. This is not what you do. And we got to start doing that earlier. And that's why I do a lot of men's projects where we try to get young boys especially and say, I'm going to teach you what it means to be a man.
Yeah, I just want to respond to the whole when you get stopped by the police. Everybody that's listening to this, please pay attention. Teach this to your sons and your daughters. I've taught my kids this. I've had guns by police officers pulled on me 3 different occasions. And because of that, there's a certain protocol I follow every time I'm pulled over. When the officer asks you to get out of the car, don't ask them how, why, why, what for. Get out of the car. Before you even stop your car, you need to reach in your pocket, get out your wallet, if you have a CHL, put it on the dash, driver's license on the dash, put your insurance on the dash, your hands on 10 and 2, roll down your window, turn your interior lights on, turn your radio off. Yes, sir, no, sir. Yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. Whatever they want. They're going to put you on the ground? Well, just get on the ground. They don't have to throw. Just lay on the ground. Oh, they're going to put you in the back of the cop car and take you for a ride? Well, go for a ride. If you're guilty, well, you shouldn't be doing what you're doing. If you're not, you're going to get out. It's not a big deal. Stop harassing the police officers. And don't be afraid. Everybody gets pulled over. Everybody gets stopped. Come on. This isn't hard.
Yeah, see,
I just want to keep you alive, keep your kids alive.
See, now Richard's 6'5", and so he gets pulled over by cops. Cops immediately feel a sense of, hey, I got to get on top of this guy. I'm 5'5". I've been pulled over by cops lots of times. Yeah. I'm a pretty pumped guy too. I've never had any negative interaction. Doesn't mean it didn't happen for other people, but me, and I think it comes from my upbringing. It comes from me, and my parents never talked about how you behave around police. They did talk about how you behave.
Right.
That's it.
Right.
That was enough. And they did that. And my dad, 6'3", he did that sometimes at the end of a belt. And so, so I kind of learned. So I've always been respectful of authority, period. I've never had any interaction. So, yeah, my life is different than other people's, but understand my life is real too, So.
And Carlin, just say real quick, I was not being threatened. I wasn't threatening the officers at all.
You're 6'5".
Yeah.
You might inherently threaten.
Well, maybe. I didn't mean to.
Especially if the guy's 5'5". He's like, sir, you're speeding. Yeah. Get over there. All right?
Yeah.
So, all right. So, hey, all right, we talked enough about that one. Let's talk about the border crisis. We're going to talk about that when we come back from our break on Talk About Unity. Border crisis coming up next.
When people stop talking to each other, society is on the edge. Let's bring them back. Edge Radio, because truth still matters.
Aren't you tired of not getting what you want in bed?
Are you ready to spice things up behind those closed doors?
Woo! We're here for you every hump day at 7 p.m.
This is Sex on the Edge with Jen and Hen. I'm Jennifer Reeves.
And I'm Hendrik Scott, and we are professional licensed sex therapists.
So remember to watch us Wednesday at 7 p.m. on Edge Radio TV, just in time for sexy time.
Hey, we're back on Talk About Unity on our smorgasbord of topics today. I tell you what, we covered a lot of ground. We covered ground we didn't expect to cover. So we transitioned. And the Today Show, we probably should have just called Parenting 101.
Parenting.
Because everything that we talked about, we were like, hey, you could stop some of this stuff with parenting. But here's another one as we go to this one, which has some implications of parenting, perhaps. Maybe not parenting in the United States, but parenting in other places. We're going to talk about the border crisis that our president is kind of facing right now. What do you think is going on with our border crisis now? For his part, President Biden says it's not a crisis.
Liar, pants on fire, 5 Pinocchios is no. Listen, it is a disaster.
It's a crisis.
It's a disaster. Yeah. Did you see the press conference the other day? No, we're not going to talk about the press conference today. But at the press conference the other day, they said it's not a crisis, and they are going to allow cameras, reporters in there.
Said they were
once he gets his policies in order. It's like, does that make sense?
Yeah, why are you
There's
waiting
no
on
transparency there. Let them show up and take the pictures. Bottom line is they are cages that was built before Trump's administration. I just want to say
kids are back in the cages?
Kids are back in the cages. These kids are piled up. They're piled up on the border. It's terrible. Cartel is standing there on the side of the river screaming in Spanish, "It doesn't matter what you do, you're not going to stop us." And they're laughing at the Border Patrol. This is terrible.
Vince, can you put that clip back up there? That picture that's in the top right there, I wonder if that's what they call a cage, what kind of facility that is. But I heard Senator Ted Cruz talking about this and saying they're sleeping there next to each other and it's crowded and the kids are touching each other, transmitting COVID to each other, he says. So I wonder how much of that is actually true when you look at that graphic there.
Well, it's kind of like, you ever seen a dog kennels, the wire cage? That's a lot of what they have in some of these facilities. And not like they're all hunkered down and they can't stand up. And there's enough room to move around. But when you pack it out with standing room only, bad things happen. It's a terrible situation. They said the last number that was reported is the cartel's getting $4,000 per person as they're escorting them across the border. They're making money hand over fist. They really are. It's a tragic situation. And then here's the key thing. We've had this tremendous increase since Biden took office, and they talked about it. Made this comparison, and the graphic showed that we're up 61% from this time, or from January of 2021. Right. And it talked about this one facility where they're housing people, which is amazing because we live in Texas. We're straight out of Texas here. And what they're doing is they implement it, which Trump had stopped catch and release. He said, no, don't let them in. So they didn't come in. But Biden says, in the name of humanity, we let them in. And as soon as they come in, we have to find a place to put them. So they bring them in and they
now have to take them to these facilities. And so they went to, I know, Midland, Texas, Dallas, Texas. They rent out these huge warehouses or facilities, and they put these kids in there because most of these are unaccompanied minors, and some of them are families. So instead of him doing this thing that says, no, we don't let you in, he feels it's more humane. What do you think about that? I don't necessarily believe that's more humane, that we bring them in and we put them in these facilities and it becomes an issue for us by saying, no, you stay on that side of the border and you come in through the legal process. You have to go through the legal process. Why do we think that's more humane?
It's not more humane.
I don't get that.
It's like putting a Band-Aid on a tumor. It's not going to fix anything. You have to get to the core of what's going on. And the core issue is not just unemployment. There are multiple factors that are causing people to flee where they're at to get into the United States because they perceive that the United States is a much safer environment than where they're coming from. You know, we have Mexican.
And isn't that business, like you were saying about the cartel, that's part of their business model, isn't it?
Right.
That they make money, and because if nobody's coming to the U.S., they don't get any money because people aren't paying them to get them, you know, to the States.
We have orphanages and other missionary works that we've been involved in Mexico, Nicaragua, Guatemala, those different areas. And I've had a firsthand experience with some of that. In Guatemala, people are carrying AK-47s with the big banana clips as they're riding on the back of public transportation. I mean, not everybody, but there's so many guns you can't count that people are, and they're afraid for their life.
Right.
And I had guns, a situation down in Guatemala, just a bad situation. Here's a good example that people don't talk about. Our Mexico missionaries, because I was asking how bad is it, and just children being murdered. You're like, let this man. Here's a good example. This is going to be, hey, this is definitely for a mature audience, so just be careful with what I'm about to say. This man was approached by the cartel and said, go sell your truck and give me the money by this time tomorrow, and I'll give you your daughter back. He didn't even know his daughter was kidnapped. And the guy did it, brings the money to the cartel, and the next day he hands this man his daughter in 2 Croker sacks. Killed her, murdered this man. He did what he said he wanted him to do. And still, I mean, when I say it is horrific, it is barbaric, it is terrible. It's not just about people here trying to find a better life. Listen, if your neighbor, here, let me just tell you, if you and I were there, if your neighbor on one side, their kids get kidnapped, your neighbor's on the other side, the wife gets murdered, but you still have 5 kids, what are you going to do? It doesn't matter what American laws are. They're just fleeing for safety. They're fleeing for their lives. Not everybody coming over here is somebody just trying to take advantage of the American system. They really are afraid. They're terrified. And this has to be handled, and it isn't handled at our border. It's handled inside of Mexico, Guatemala, Nicaragua, all the other countries that are being impacted by this crime wave that's happening over there.
Yeah, I saw one news report about something that happened here down in one of the border cities where at a hotel they went in and went to one of the hotel rooms, one of the ladies cleaning up, and she found a guy's body just cut up in parts in a bathtub. And I was like, yeah, that's cruel stuff. That's that cartel, man. Those the bad stuff that they do. So we have lots of reason to fix that, and that's another one that needs some help. And from our viewpoint, we just got to pray about how we can kind of fix that thing. All right.
So that's why we jumped on our Mexico missions is doing great. We're feeding the homeless, soup kitchen every day. Wow. Got an agriculture project there. We have a little over 40 kids that are there that have been raised. And the beautiful thing is, I mean, it's amazing how God connects dots. Half of the kids in the orphanage are from cartel members that have, the father or mother died. And so no place to put the kids. So the orphanage took them in. The other half of the kids are usually somebody that's involved in government or police force. Their mom and dad's or a parent was killed, and so the kids are all living together. They don't know each other's story, but you know what? It's a life. It is a person, and we take care of them. We you just have to you got to do what you got to do, right? To take care of people. Yeah. This isn't just a American invasion situation. This is a humanity situation.
Yeah, that's
we
really
all
good.
Pray about and be involved in.
Yeah, we got my wife and I do a ministry with this group who has an orphanage down there as well. So yeah, this is what America and its people do. They try to circumvent some of the bad things that happen in some of these countries. And so we got to continue to do that. So good stuff. All right, now let's move to America and another one of our issues, another one of our crises that's happening in America. And that is the rash kind of shootings that we've had of late, you know, and we'd say mass shootings. There was one a friend told me about that I didn't see much on that happened in Virginia on yesterday, 2 days ago, that over the weekend. I didn't see what that was about. So, but let's talk about the ones that we have knowledge of. In that clip that you put up, it's got Atlanta and we got the Atlanta and the Colorado shootings that happened. One happened in, of course, the supermarket, grocery store, and the one of Atlanta was a spa shootings. What I'm particularly concerned about in these is the way that we characterize these shootings. In one, you know, you'll notice that they talk specifically about the Colorado shooting store, and they identify that it's a man. And in the other one, it became an anti-Asian or Asian hate crime. And I'm going, okay, how are we making this differentiation, and who is doing that? So I'm worried about the messaging that we're sending, because nobody has said anything about the fact that this shooter in Colorado, Ahmad Al-Alawi Alizi, nobody said anything. He happens to just be a man. Anybody else, that depending on who you kill determines how much they're going to identify what type of man you are. You know, because in the other one you would be a white supremacist or a white man or whatever, but in this one he's just a man.
He's just a man.
Yeah. So I'm always thinking about the messaging. What's going on here?
It's unfortunate. You know, the knife cuts both ways. You know, if you're always going to point out somebody's race or somebody's culture or whatever identification is, then that should go across the board for everybody. The media definitely has an agenda to highlight certain things or not highlight certain things. The bottom line is, our culture is wrapped up in doing a lot of bad stuff. There's contributing factors to all this. Taking away everybody's guns is not the answer. I mean, it's the Second Amendment is there for a reason. And having a place in the hill country 90 miles away from the border, Carlin, you probably don't know this because you don't see it on the news, but in Real County and Uvalde County, there's certain roads that go straight from the border, Highway 83, Highway 41, and 337, 336, and 335. These roads that come straight from down there. In the last week, when there were 10 high-speed car chases where they were chasing people that were coming from the border, that were hauling people over there. And they are serious. The Highway Patrol and the Border Patrol, I mean, they are on high alert. My son and daughter, a few months back, they were traveling together. They pulled my son over for no reason at all, and of course I taught him how to treat the police when he's pulled over. Very respectful, but he separated my son from my daughter, and so as they're talking to my son, another officer's talking to my daughter and said, "Do you know him?" "Yes, it's my brother." "Seriously, you're okay. You're safe with me. I can get you out of a situation. Has he abducted you? Has he kidnapped?" "No, really, seriously. We kind of look alike, you know." They are very serious about rescuing these men, women, and children that have been abducted for sex slave trafficking. There's not enough talk about that, but that's a lot of that stuff is happening also through this whole border crisis situation.
Yeah, I watched. I can't remember the name of the movie. I think it was The Marksman or something. It had Liam Neeson, and he was down at the border, and he had a job of rescuing these kids who came across and had to get them to Chicago. And so it was an interesting story, but kind of shows you the stuff that actually is happening out there. I tell you what, Liam Neeson does some good stuff at bringing things to the vision of American people, because when he did Taken, we didn't realize that sex trafficking was as big a deal. And since then, we realized how big it is. And so good job. All right, so that's a lot on the shootings, and we got so we got to find a solution for that. I don't think we have a solution for that one either, outside of our big solution, which is always parenting. Parents, you're the most important people. As my friend Abraham Hamilton always says, what happens in your house is much more important than what happens in the White House.
Yep.
And so with that said, hey, we're going to take a break, and we're going to come back with this was our big feature issue of the day. And this is our big one, where we talk about voting. Okay. And the voting laws and regulations that are changing across the country, and whether or not that's restricting access for some. So we're going to talk about that. It'll be our big kahuna, and we're going to talk about it for the rest of the show. We'll talk about that when we come back right after this.
We work our whole lives to support our families. With one accident or illness, it can all be gone in an instant. Now there's a smart, affordable way to protect your family. Go to findhealthbenefits.com and discover low-cost life insurance for as little as $2 per month. Add to that a tax-deferred annuity that can help you protect your assets and grow your money for retirement. Learn more. Go to findhealthbenefits.com or call 877-235-6094. A critical illness can strike without warning and wipe out your life savings. In fact, it's the #1 reason for bankruptcy. Find Health Benefits offers an affordable solution. Get up to $50,000 if you get cancer, stroke, or a heart attack, giving you the peace of mind to focus on getting better while the plan helps you to pay your bills and medical expenses. Learn more. Go to findhealthbenefits.com or call 877-235-6094. 66% of seniors spend more time shopping for cable TV than Medicare plans. Most say because it's just too confusing. Laws change every year. The wrong plan could cost you thousands and prevent you from seeing the doctors you want. Introducing FindHealthBenefits.com. Save time, save money, see specialists without referrals. Go to FindHealthBenefits.com or call 877-235-6094 for this informative brochure.
Society is on the edge. Let's bring them back. Edge Radio, because truth still matters.
And we're back.
We are
talking about unity. We got all these issues. I tell you what, we've covered everything that's in the news today and some things that aren't in the news. So we're going to start calling ourselves a news network. All right. So
you need to get a newspaper like Rush Limbaugh and just shake it in front of the microphone.
Here's a newspaper.
Yeah.
Actually, they still make newspapers?
I don't know.
Do they have newspapers? Hey, we're going to think about that. I haven't seen one. All right. So we're back to our feature issue of the day. And this one we'll close out on. And it's about this voting legislation that's breaking out around the country. All right, after the last presidential election, then everybody was talking about whether or not there was fraud. There were all these challenges, and everybody was talking about our election system, the election process, election integrity. That became the big deal. And so now it appears that in 43 states you have some initiatives, and they say they're all GOP-led. I haven't verified that, but they're GOP-led, which means the Republicans in all 43 states are now trying to shore up the election systems. Now, that is characterized not as shoring up the election systems, but as President Biden says, it's Jim Crow and racist at its roots. And he says they're just trying to deprive some people of the right to vote, un-American. So
he said
that's what he says.
It makes Jim Crow, it's not even a Jim Crow, it's a Jim Eagle. Did you hear him say that?
Did he say that?
He did.
It's worse than Jim Crow?
It went over like a lead balloon. I mean, just.
Did he really say that?
Yes. It's worse than, it's Jim Eagle.
Now, let me make a thought before you say anything else. I think of my ancestors who were slaves. Well, my ancestors, not only who were slaves, but after slaves, during Jim Crow, who would have been lynched for voting.
Oh, my God.
And so to say that this is worse than what they faced, that's called hyperbole, because that's like way extreme. They would have been lynched for voting. Now we're complaining about the fact that, well, if we vote, we've got to have an ID. We're complaining about that. You know what some of my ancestors did? They walked 10 miles to get to the polls to vote. And we're complaining and saying, yeah, but I got to have an ID. You're trying to keep me from voting. Really? I just don't get that. But anyway, so that's just my spin on that part, you know.
I mean, come on. To have a voter ID card or just a driver's license in order to vote. I don't understand where the oppression's at. The same people that are voting, everybody that's voting, if you want to go to the DMV, you got to have an ID. If to go to buy things, to buy alcohol or any other, you gotta have an ID card. To cash a check, you got to have an ID card. Carlin, my thing is, I think there needs to be a opportunity when you pay your taxes, that if you want to donate $10 to the voter ID fund, I will be the first one to say, I think everybody needs a free voter ID card. But
why don't people have IDs? What's the deal on this ID thing? I mean, that seems so simple.
Everybody should have ODI. How do you cash your checks? How do you do anything in society? You can't fly. You can't travel.
So some people think that's voter suppression. They call that voter suppression because you're requiring people to have
anything
an ID?
that slows people down from voting the way that they want to vote is oppression. Yeah. To me, that does not make sense.
So the issue then is either voting is a vote is very valuable or it's not. If it's very valuable, there's got to be some security around that.
Protected.
And so, matter of fact, and I would ask somebody who, if they had $1 million, would you take your $1 million and put it in an envelope, seal it up, and put it into the United States Postal Service? Right. Would you do that and say, I'm sending this to my mom, my dad, my brother, my sister? Would you take that and just put it in an envelope? Here's this $1 million. I'm gonna put in this check and send it, and not be concerned. I wouldn't. No. Nothing I would think that's valuable, I would put into the Postal Service. That couldn't be properly insured worth its value. And so I wouldn't do that with my vote. And so even when they were talking about having to expand it because of COVID, I was like, that's not a good idea, period. No. I don't even beyond COVID to say you'd be able to put your vote in that just diminishes it in value terrible. In my eyes. That can't be valuable.
It's not a Republican or a Democrat issue. It's the bedrock of our democracy is the integrity of our elections. And if we don't fix this, and I know this is going to sound, you're just blowing smoke. No, if we don't fix this, the best cheater will win, period. And the outside influences, there was a big expose the other day talking about where our servers, voter servers are actually at. They're in Germany, they're in Russia, they're in other parts of the world. That can't be. Good computer hackers, they can tap into that stuff. We need a system that is bomb-proof, bulletproof, and everybody needs to understand that when their vote was cast, that it's going to be documented accurately. If people are voting multiple times, they need to be in jail. I'm just telling you, one of the most disrespectful things, you will lose all respect from me if you're a voter cheater. We don't need voter cheaters. We need people that vote, and whichever party wins, then guess what? If who you voted for did not win, and you don't like that, then it's your responsibility to go build relationship and conversation with people that voted for a candidate that didn't make sense to you, and just have this dialogue. America can get better. We can grow together as a society when we talk about these things instead of throwing blame and accusation, and if we're cheating, man, we're never going to get better. So
dialogue.
You're
going to hear that word a lot because that's what's so key. I think that's ultimately, we said parenting is the number one solution. I think that dialogue is very big too.
Yes.
All right. And so the last part of this voting thing, let's talk about some of the theatrics surrounding this voting issue that happened. In Georgia, yeah. Park Cannon, who was a Democrat, went and knocked on the door as the governor was signing the bill, and so you got that as one of the theatrics. But the other theatric was the fact that many said that he was signing the bill with quote unquote 6 white men in front of a plantation picture. And so what do you think about those issues?
I don't know. Well, the optics is absolutely horrible. They're in front. I don't see, maybe the picture's just too far away or my eyes are messed up, but that looks like a pretty picturesque picture, but if that's a plantation, probably not a good place to put.
In the governor's office?
In the governor's office.
But he's in Georgia. Georgia.
Georgia has a lot of plantations.
They got a lot of plantations.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of these restaurants.
These
plantations have now been turned into golf courses, restaurants.
Museums.
Hey, turn them around. Hey, redeem them, right? right? There's not slaves in these plantations anymore, are they? Of course not.
No.
Right. So let's take the power away from some of that stuff. What do you burn them down, tear them down? No, you need to reclaim them and use them for something good today. But what really disturbs me is Mrs. Park Cannon getting led out of the Capitol in handcuffs by police because she knocked on the governor's door. That's absolutely ridiculous. Maybe she just is a newly elected person that didn't understand protocol and the culture of how they do business in Georgia. But a lot of corporate environments, you can go down to the director's office and say, hey, you got a second? Knock on his door. Obviously, the governor did not think that was what was happening, basically took it as a threat, or someone did, and she gets marched out of the state capitol in handcuffs. That is a horrible, horrible political situation there.
And it didn't look like, when you saw it, it didn't look like there was much that took place there that transpired. It simply looked like she just knocked on the door and they said, come here, ma'am. She seemed to be very cooperative. And said, come here, ma'am, that's not appropriate. And they put her hands behind her back and they took her out. So I don't know how much of it looked kind of staged, but I don't know. It was just kind of strange, that it's happening. But all right, let's close out the show. Let's talk about this. We got all these issues. We got our voting issues. We got our border crisis issues. We got shootings that are, we think the answer is a lot of this has to do with parenting. What's happening in your homes, what's happening in your house is much greater than what's happening in the White House. And so that's kind of where we're looking at today with all these issues that are happening. Close out the show for us, Richard. What do you think? What we got to do?
Starting from the back, going forward, number one, we need to tell Washington, we need to tell our states, we need to tell our cities that we don't work for them. They work for us. When we engage them, whether we're in office or not, it needs to be a respectful conversation. And
dialogue.
If you can, schedule a meeting, schedule an appointment. I don't want to see anybody else walked out in handcuffs, whether they're Republican, Democrat, or regardless of what walk of life you come from. We need to be able to approach our elected officials, and the elected officials need to be approachable. Whether it's going back into the video games and all this stuff with Little Nas and all these things, it all comes down to our culture is not moving in the right direction. The only way it gets better is that we learn how to have this respectful dialogue, lead by example, train our kids right, interact with people in our society. If you see a friend or even a stranger in our neighborhood and society and they act like they're losing their mind, why don't you just snuggle into them a little bit, just lean into them a little bit and just open up the conversation. You'll be amazed how much one word, one act of kindness can change a situation and turn it around for good.
And this has been E.R.A.S.E Talk About Unity, and we're here on Edge Radio where the truth still matters. Join us again next week for more of these amazing topics and ideas, and better than that, solutions to some of these issues. All right? We thank you. This is Talk About Unity.